I was a, you think that I knew it, you think that I understood it, but my results were not reflecting that I understood what I thought I understood. And after just, roller coaster results, heartbreak, businesses up and down, I knew that I was missing something. And I'd seen The Secret. I knew who Bob Proctor was and started following more of Bob's story. And then I guess in November of 2018, I reached out to PGI because I didn't know anybody that taught this or knew this or facilitated this. And I got in touch with PGI and they had somebody call me and they told me about some events. And I went to one of Bob's big events in Toronto in 2019. I had some goals written down and I met Bob and they heard me singing out in the lobby and invited me up on stage. And next thing you know, Bob's invited me out to LA. I created a vision board. I met Natalie out there. I said I'd meet her before May of 2019. We met April 26th. We knew it right from the moment. She met everything that I had written down on my vision board. Bob showed me how to do this vision board to attract a specific person. And, of course, I went to the Matrix. It was a very, very expensive event, but my whole life shifted massively because of that. And then once we left the Matrix, a lot of us, I met people from all around the world, and we did what Dom is doing here. We would pick a chapter out of Think and Grow Rich, because that's the book that changed everything for Bob Proctor. And we started with the chapter on decision. We studied it for 90 days. So we got together on a Zoom just like this every morning at 7:00 a.m. and we alternated reading, 2 or 3 sentences as a group for 90 days, the same chapter over and over and over and over. And then we moved to the chapter on persistence. And that's the key, it's the repetitive study. It's the time-space repetition of putting the information into your mindset, because this isn't going to shift. This information is not going to change. It's been this way since Napoleon Hill wrote it back in the 30s. The words on the page are not going to change, but your understanding and your perception is going to continually shift as you continue to study. And it just gets to a point where it becomes part of your new mindset. And that's where the real change is going to happen. You can't just read a book 1 or 2 times and get it. It's been a few months since I've studied this because I've moved on to some other things, but Bob reads in this book every single day and has since he was 26 years old. He's 87 now. And he's been reading it at least 1 page every single day of his whole entire life since he was 26. And so I would just encourage you guys, whether it's this book or there's a lot of great, great books out there on shifting your mindset, your thinking, your paradigms, but don't just read them 1 or 2 times and think you have it. Because if you have a longing or discontent in any area of your life, whether it's your relationships, your finances, your health, if you have longing and discontent, you can always, always, always learn more. Because a person can tell you all day long that they understand mindset, but yet if they're broke, if they're overweight and on 15 different prescription drugs, if they're not in the love relationship that they're looking for, they truly don't understand it. And that was a real slap in my face, because I thought I did. But when somebody pointed out, man, bro, look at your life, man. If you really understood and applied this, you wouldn't be in this spot. And sometimes you just got to look in that mirror and be honest with yourself, and then get curious, get hungry, get on this journey, and don't ever get off of it. Because once you start to get a taste of it, you can't go back.
Well said. Appreciate it, Kevin. That's awesome.
It's just a beautiful testament to, back to it doesn't matter if you're tall, short, old, young, black, white, Mexican, Christian, atheist, whatever. These rules and laws apply to everybody. And it's all about believing it and then putting it to action. And I think that's a lot of, like, with me being in the health field, as Kevin knows, the journey you've been down the health field and all of that, if you're not in the best possible shape of your life, something's missing. You may think you know it all, you may think you have it all, and it's one little combination twist. Maybe you went over one number and you go back to the left to the perfect number, that lock will not open. So we're all just shifting. Just don't ever think, this is the way I've always been taught and the way I've lived my life, where there's always something more to learn. And if you don't believe that, then you're missing the point of all of this. There's so much more to learn, but you have to put it into activity. Because some of the stuff for you to learn and for us to learn, you can't learn just through the book. You got to go apply this stuff. You got to apply it, review it, rewind it, apply it, review, rewind, and then adjust. But so many of us in life, we don't get the results that we're looking for right out of the gate. And then we get disappointed. Oh, I'll start tomorrow. I'll start tomorrow. I'll start tomorrow. Tomorrow's not good. That day's not good. I got the thing this weekend. Monday I'll do it. No, now. And that's really something you said the other day, Kevin, and it's Bob's been saying, and I just keep hearing it now, is what do you want? What do you want? Not now what, or what should I do? Or whatever. No, what do you want? When you figure out what you actually want, it will all show up. It will show up and keep showing up.
And what's telling you that you can't? What is it that's telling you that you can't? When did you believe? At what point did you believe that you couldn't?
That is crazy.
Somebody taught you that. It's not the truth.
No.
So whatever it is that you want, and this is what, Bob got this from Earl Nightingale, way on back in the 60s. Their slogan was, if you can tell us what you want, we can show you how to get it. And that's been Bob's, that's been his mantra for his whole career. If you can tell me what you want, I can show you how to get it. But most people don't ever sit down and write out what it is that they want. They're afraid. They're afraid, well, if I just write it out, it's just not going to happen anyway. You guys ever have that little voice going inside of your head?
Oh, yeah.
It's called your paradigm, and we could get real deep. And I know that's not what we're here to do right now. We're here to study the book, Think and Grow Rich. But don't ever think for 1 second that you can't do something, because that thought, that belief will manifest and will prove you right. So, but you've got to be very clear about what it is that you want. Be very clear, and don't be afraid to reach for the stars. Because, Bob says, you'll get to this point, you'll realize that you could have set your goal way up here. But most people just, they set their goal for what they think they can achieve. Bob says, man, set your goal so big that God himself is going to have to knock on your door and help make it happen. That's because that's what your desire is. It's something so big. The love of your life, money, health, relationships, an exciting adventure, as Earl Nightingale says. You can have whatever it is that you want. All you have to do is believe it. So if your beliefs aren't in alignment with what you want, you have to reevaluate those beliefs. And that's another thing that Bob taught, is that if you will reevaluate your beliefs, oftentimes those beliefs will change. Because most likely the beliefs that we all have instilled in us were given to us from a very, very early age, from the house that we grew up in, the parents that we had, the church we went to or didn't go to, the school that you went to or didn't go to, the neighborhood you grew up in, the TV shows that you watched. That's where all that got formed. Never was really what your heart believed. So like I said, I got to stop right now.
All right. We'll get into it, but I appreciate you hopping on and sharing some of this, because I know that you're living proof, brother. And I know more are on here, but I just wanted to have you share that part of that story. And I know you put a lot of time in with Bob. So, all right, let's pull this over here. And then I'll get us kicked off with chapter 5, specialized knowledge. All right, personal experiences or observations, the 4 steps towards riches. There are 2 kinds of knowledge. One is general, the other is specialized. Generalized knowledge, no matter how great in quantity or variety it may be, is of but little use in the accumulation of money. The faculties of this great universities possesses in the, and this thing is crazy. Hold on. Sorry, guys. There we go.
No, Archie.
All right. I'll start over right here. Generalized knowledge, no matter how great in quantity or variety it may be, is of but little use in the accumulation of money. The faculties of the great universities possesses in the aggregate practicality, every form of general knowledge known to civilization. Most of the professors have built little or no money. They specialize on teaching knowledge, but they do not specialize on the organization or in the use of knowledge. Knowledge will not attract money unless it is organized and intellectually directed through practical plans of action to the definite end of accumulation of the money. Lack of understanding of this has been the source of confusion to millions of people who falsely believe knowledge is power. It is nothing of the sort. Knowledge is only potential power. It becomes power only when and if it is organized into definite plans of action and directed into definite end. This missing link in all systems of education known to civilization today may be found in the failure of educational institutions to teach their students how to organize and to use knowledge after they acquire it. Many people make the mistake of assuming that because Henry Ford had but little schooling, he is not a man of education. Those who make this mistake do not know Henry Ford, nor do they understand the real meaning of the word educate. That word is derived from the Latin word educudo, meaning to educate, to draw out, to develop from within. An educated man is not necessarily one who has an abundance of general or specialized knowledge. An educated man is one who has so developed the faculties of his mind that he may acquire anything he wants or its equivalent without violating the rights of others. Henry Ford comes well within the meaning of this definition. During the World War, a Chicago newspaper published certain editorials in which, among other statements, Henry Ford was called an ignorant pacifist. Mr. Ford objected to the statements and brought suit against the paper for libeling him. When the suit was tried in the courts, the attorneys for the papers pleaded justification and placed Mr. Ford himself on the witness stand for the purpose of proving to the jury that he was ignorant. The attorneys asked Mr. Ford a great variety of questions, all of them intended to prove by his own evidence that while he might possess considerable specialized knowledge pertaining to the manufacturing of the automobiles, he was in the main ignorant. Mr. Ford was plead with such questions as the following: who was Benedict Arnold, and how many soldiers did the British send over to America to put down the Republican rebellion in 1776? In answer to the last question, Mr. Ford replied, I do not know the exact number of soldiers the British sent over, but I have heard that it is a considerably large number than ever went back. Finally, Mr. Ford became tired of the line of questioning, and in reply to a particular offensive question, he leaned over, pointed his finger at the lawyer who had asked the question and said, if I should really want to answer the foolish question you have just asked me, or any other questions you have been asking me, let me remind you that I have a row of electric push buttons on my desk, and by pushing the right button, I can summon to the aid any man who can answer any question I desire to ask concerning the business to which I am devoting most of my efforts. Now, will you kindly tell me why I should clutter up my mind with general knowledge for the purpose of being able to answer such questions when I have men around me who can supply any knowledge I require? There certainly was good logic to that reply. That answer floored the lawyer. Every person in the courtroom realized it was the answer not of an ignorant man, but of a man of knowledge, of education. Any man is educated who knows where to get knowledge when he needs it and how to organize it that knowledge into definite plans of action. Through the assistance of his mastermind group, Henry Ford had his command all the specialized knowledge he needed to enable him to become one of the wealthiest men in America. Anyone want to go? Dave, want to head it up?
Sure. Hey, guys. It was not essential that he have this knowledge in his own mind. Surely no person who has sufficient inclination and intelligence to read a book of this nature can possibly miss the significance of this illustration. Before you can be sure of your ability to transmute desire into its monetary equivalent, you will require specialized knowledge of the service, merchandise, or profession which you intend to offer in return for fortune. Perhaps you may need much more specialized knowledge than you have the ability or the inclination to acquire. And if this should be true, you may bridge your weakness through the aid of your mastermind group. Andrew Carnegie stated that he personally knew nothing about the technical end of the steel business. Moreover, he did not particularly care to know anything about it. The specialized knowledge which he required for the manufacture and marketing of steel, he found available through the individual units of his mastermind group. The accumulation of great fortunes calls for power, and power is acquired through highly organized and intelligently directed specialized knowledge. But that knowledge does not necessarily have to be in the possession of the man who accumulates the fortune. The preceding paragraph should give hope and encouragement to the man with ambition to accumulate a fortune, who has not possessed himself of the necessary education to supply such specialized knowledge as he may require. Men sometimes go throughout life suffering from inferiority complexes because they are not men of education. The man who can organize and direct a mastermind group of men who possesses knowledge useful in the accumulation of money is just as much a man of education as any man in the group. Remember this: if you suffer from a feeling of inferiority because your schooling has been limited. Thomas A. Edison had only 3 months of schooling during his entire life. He did not lack education, neither did he die poor. Henry Ford had less than a 6th grade schooling, but he has managed to do pretty well by himself financially. Specialized knowledge is among the most plentiful and the cheapest forms of service which may be had. If you doubt this, consult the payroll of any university. It pays. Yeah, somebody else want to go?
I can.
All right.
It pays to know how to purchase knowledge. First of all, decide the sort of special knowledge you require and the purpose for which is needed. To a large extent, your major purpose in life, the goal towards which you are working will help determine what knowledge you need. With this question settled, your next move requires that you have accurate information concerning dependable source of knowledge. The more important of these are: A, one's own experience and education; B, experience and education available through cooperation of others, mastermind alliances; C, college and university; D, public library through books and periodicals in which may be found in all knowledge organized by civilization; E, special training course through Rice School and home study school in particular. As knowledge is required, it must be organized and put into use for a definite purpose. Through practical plan, knowledge has no value except that which can be gained from its application towards some worthy end. This is one reason why college degrees are of no value except that which can be gained from its application towards some worthy end. This is no reason why college degrees are not valued more highly. They represent nothing but miscellaneous knowledge. If you're contemplating taking additional schooling, first determine the purpose for which you want the knowledge you are seeking. Then learn where this particular sort of knowledge can be obtained for reliable sources. Successful men in all calling never stop acquiring specialized knowledge related to their major purpose, business or profession. These who are not successful those who are not successful usually make the mistake of believing that the knowledge acquiring period ends when one's finished school. The truth is that schooling does not but little more than to put one in the way of learning how to acquire practical knowledge. With this change world, which began at the end of the economic collapse, came also astounding changes in educational requirements. The order of the day is specialization. This truth was emphasized by Robert P. Moore, Secretary of Appointments of Columbia University. Anyone else want to go?
Let me just interject something real quick, if you guys don't mind. That last piece that you just read was really, really important. And it's something that I realized. I thought that, once you got through school, you were done, and then I got on the journey. But getting on the journey has got to be more than just curiosity or, joining a group because you think it's the right thing to do. You should have a purpose behind it. So every single one of us are here. I know this is my first night to join you guys, but I know Dom's been doing this for a few trips now. But there's something that you want. There's something that you want to get out of this. So make sure you understand what it is that you want to get from this, and keep that, as a central focal point in your mindset. Why are you doing this? You're not doing it just to spend an hour of your time. There's a reason. So with that, I'll go ahead and jump in for a paragraph or two. Specialists most sought. Particularly sought after by employing companies are candidates who have specialized in some field. Business school graduates with training in accounting and statistics, engineers of all varieties, journalists, architects, chemists, and also outstanding leaders and activity men of the senior class. The man who has been active on the campus, whose personality is such that he gets along with all kinds of people and who has done an adequate job with his studies, has the most decided edge over the strictly academic student. There you go for network marketing. Some of these people, because of their all-around qualifications, have received several offers of positions, a few of them as many as 6. And departing from the conception that the straight A student was invariably the one to get the choice of the better jobs, Mr. Moore said that most companies look not only to academic records, but to activity records and personalities of the students. One of the largest industrial companies, the leader in the field in writing to Mr. Moore concerning prospective seniors at the college, said, "We are interested primarily in finding men who can make exceptional progress in management work. For this reason, we emphasize qualities of character, intelligence, and personality far more than specific educational background." Apprenticeship proposed. Proposing a system of apprenticing students in offices, stores, and industrial occupations during the summer vacation, Mr. Moore asserts that after the first 2 or 3 years of college, every student should be asked to choose a definite future course and to call a halt if he has been merely pleasantly drifting without purpose through an unspecialized academic curriculum. Colleges and universities must face the practical consideration that all professions and occupations now demand specialists, he said, urging that educational institutions accept more direct responsibility for vocational guidance. One of the most reliable and practical sources of knowledge available to those who need specialized schooling is the night schools operated in most large cities. The correspondence schools give specialized training anywhere the U.S. males go on all subjects that taught by the extension method. One advantage of home study training is the flexibility of the study program, which permits one to study during spare time. Another stupendous advantage of home study training, if the school is carefully chosen, is the fact that most courses offered by home study schools carry with them generous privileges of consultation, which can be of priceless value to those needing specialized knowledge. No matter where you live, you can share the benefits. Anything acquired without effort and without cost is generally unappreciated, often discredited. Perhaps this is why we get so little from our marvelous opportunity in public school. The self-discipline one receives from a definite program of specialized study makes up to some extent for the wasted opportunity when knowledge was available without cost. I'm living proof of all that. Correspondence schools are highly organized business institutions. Their tuition fees are so low that they are forced to insist upon prompt payments. Being asked to pay whether the student makes good grades or poor has the effect of causing one to follow through with the course when he otherwise would drop it. And that's another thing that's so very powerful. The correspondence schools have not stressed this point sufficiently. For the truth is that their collection departments constitute the very finest sort of training on decision, promptness, action, and the habit of finishing that which one begins. I learned this from experience more than 25 years ago. I enrolled for a home study course in advertising. After completing 8 or 10 lessons, I stopped studying, but the school did not stop sending me bills. Moreover, it insisted upon payment, whether I kept up my studies or not. I decided that if I had to pay for the course, which I had legally obligated myself to do, I should complete the lessons and get my money's worth. I felt at the time that the collection system of the school was somewhat too well organized, but I learned later in life that it was a valuable part of my training for which no charge had been made. Being forced to pay, I trained for which no charge had been made. Being forced to pay, I went ahead and completed the course. Later in life, I discovered that the efficient collection system of that school had been worth much in the form of money earned because of the training in advertising I had so reluctantly taken. Pass to whoever wants to go next.
I'll jump in.
Dominic. Oh, go ahead, Derek.
Oh, okay. We have in this country what is said to be the greatest public school system in the world. We have invested fabulous sums of fine buildings. We have provided convenient transportation for children living in rural districts so they may attend the best schools. But there's one outstanding weakness to this marvelous system. It is free. One of the strange things about human beings is that they value only that which has a price. The free schools of America and the free public libraries do not impress people because they are free. This is a major reason why so many people find it necessary to acquire additional training after they quit school and go to work. It is also one of the major reasons why employers give greater consideration to employees who take home study courses. They have learned from experience that any person who has the ambition to give up a part of their spare time to study at home has in him those qualities which make for leadership. This recognition is not a charitable gesture. It is sound business judgment upon the part of the employers. There is one weakness in people for which there is no remedy. It is the universal weakness of lack of ambition. Persons, especially salaried people, who schedule their spare time to provide for home study seldom remain at the bottom for very long. Their action opens the way for the upward climb, removes many obstacles from their path, and gains the friendly interest of those who have the power to put them in the way of opportunity. The home study method of training is especially suited to the needs of employed people who find after leaving school that they must acquire additional specialized knowledge, but cannot spare the time to go back to school. The changed economic conditions prevailing since the Depression have made it necessary for thousands of people to find additional or new sources of income. For the majority of these, the solution to their problem may be found only by acquiring specialized knowledge. Many will be forced to change their occupations entirely. When a merchant finds that a certain line of merchandise is not selling, he usually supplants it with another that is in demand. The person whose business is that of marketing personal services must also be an efficient merchant. If his service do not bring adequate returns in one occupation, he must change to another where broader opportunities are available. Stuart Austin Veer prepared himself as a construction engineer and followed this line of work until the Depression limited his market to where it did not give him the income he required. He took inventory of himself, decided to change his profession to law, went back to school, and took special courses by which he prepared himself as a corporation lawyer. Despite the fact that the Depression had not ended, he completed his training, passed the bar examination, and quickly built a lucrative law practice in Dallas, Texas. In fact, he is turning away clients. Just to keep the record straight and to anticipate the alibis of those who will say, I couldn't go to school because I have a family to support, or I'm too old, or I will add the information that Mr. Veer was past 40 and married when he went back to school. Moreover, by carefully selecting highly specialized courses in colleges best prepared to teach the subjects chosen, Mr. Veer completed in 2 years the work for which the majority of law students require 4 years. It pays to know how to purchase knowledge. The person who stops studying merely because he has finished school is forever hopelessly doomed to mediocrity, no matter what may be his calling. The way of success is the way of continuous pursuit of knowledge. Let us consider a specific instance. During the Depression, a salesman in a grocery store found himself without a position. Having had some bookkeeping experience, he took a special course in accounting, familiarized himself with all the latest bookkeeping and office equipment, and went into business for himself. Starting with the grocer from whom he had formerly worked, he made contracts with more than 100 small merchants to keep their books at a very nominal monthly fee. His idea was so practical that he soon found it necessary to set up a portable office in a light delivery truck, which he equipped with the modern bookkeeping machinery. He now has a fleet of these bookkeeping offices on wheels and employs a large staff of assistants, thus providing small merchants with accounting service equal to the best that money at a very nominal that went into this unique and successful business. Last year, the owner of the business paid an income tax of almost 10 times as much as was paid by the merchant from whom he worked when the Depression forced upon him a temporary adversity, which proved to be a blessing in disguise. The beginning of this successful business was an idea. Inasmuch as I had the privilege of supplying the unemployed salesperson with that idea, I now assume the further privilege of suggesting another idea, which has within it the possibility of even greater income. Also, the possibility of rendering useful service to thousands of people who badly need that service. The idea was suggested by the salesperson who gave up selling and went into business of keeping books on a wholesale basis. When the plan was suggested as a solution of his unemployment problem, he quickly exclaimed, "I like the idea, but I would not know how to turn it into cash." In other words, he complained that he would not know how to market his bookkeeping knowledge after he acquired it. So that brought up another problem which had to be solved. With the aid of a young woman typist, clever at hand lettering, and who could put the story together, a very attractive book was prepared describing the advantages of the new system of bookkeeping. The pages were neatly typed and pasted in an ordinary scrapbook, which was used as a silent salesman, with which the story of this new business was so effectively told that its owner soon had more accounts than he could handle. There are thousands of people all over the country who need the services of a merchandising specialist capable of preparing an attractive brief for use in marketing personal services. The aggregate annual income from such a service might easily exceed that received by the largest employment agency and the benefits of the service might be made far greater to the purchaser than any to be attained from an employment agency. The idea here described was born of necessity to bridge an emergency which had to be covered, but it did not stop by merely serving one person. The woman who created the idea has a keen imagination. She saw in her newly born brainchild the making of a new profession, one that is destined to render valuable service to thousands of people who need practical guidance in marketing personal services. Spurred to action by the instantaneous success of her first prepared plan to market personal services, this energetic woman turned next to the solution of a similar problem for her son, who had just finished college, but had been totally unable to find a market for his services. The plan she originated for his use was the finest specimen of merchandising of personal service I have ever seen. When the plan book had been completed, it contained nearly 50 pages of beautifully typed, properly organized information telling the story of her son's native ability, schooling, personal experiences, and a great variety of other information too expensive for description. The plan book also contained a complete description of the position her son desired, together with a marvelous word picture of the exact plan he would use in filling the position. The preparation of the plan book requires several weeks' labor, during which time its creator sent her son to the library almost daily to procure data needed in selling his services to best advantage. She sent him also to the competitors of his prospective employer, gathered from them vital information concerning their business methods, which was a great value in the formation of the plan he intended to use in filling the position he sought. When the plan had been finished, it contained more than a half dozen very fine suggestions for the use and benefit of the prospective employer. The suggestions were put into use by the company. One may be inclined to ask, why go to all this trouble to secure a job? The answer is straight to the point. Also, it is dramatic because it deals with a subject which assumes the proportion of a tragedy with millions of men and women whose sole source of income is personal services. The answer is doing a thing well never is trouble. The plan prepared by this woman for the benefit of her son helped him get the job for which he applied at the first interview at a salary fixed by himself. Moreover, and this too is important, the position did not require the young man to start at the bottom. He began as a junior executive at an executive salary. Why go to all this trouble, do you ask? Well, one thing, the plan presentation of this young man's application for a position clipped off no less than 10 years of time he would have required to get to where he began had he started at the bottom and worked his way up. Anybody want to jump in?
I could read. Okay, this idea of starting at the bottom and working one ways up may appear to be sound, but the major objection to it is this too, many of those who begin at the bottom never manage to lift their heads high enough to be seen by opportunity. So they remain at the bottom. It should be remembered also that the outlook from the bottom is not so very bright or encouraging. It has a tendency to kill off ambition. We call it getting into a rut, which means that we accept our fate because we form the habit of daily routine, a habit that finally becomes so strong we cease to try to throw it off. And that is another reason why it pays to start 1 or 2 steps above the bottom. By so doing, one forms the habit of looking around, of observing how others get ahead, of seeing opportunity, and of embracing it without hesitation. Dan Halpin is a splendid example of what I mean. During his college days, he was a manager of the famous 1930 national championship Notre Dame football team when it was under the direction of the late Knute Rockne. Perhaps he was inspired by the great football coach to aim high and not mistake temporary defeat for failure, just as Andrew Carnegie, the great industrial leader, inspired his young business lieutenants to set high goals for themselves. At any rate, young Halpin finished college at a mighty unfavorable time when the Depression had made jobs scarce. So after a fling at investment banking and motion pictures, he took the first opening with a potential future he could find, selling electrical hearing aids on a commission basis. Anyone could start in that sort of job, and Halpin knew it, but it was enough to open the door of opportunity to him. For almost 2 years, he continued in a job not to his liking, and he would never have risen above that job if he had not done something about his dissatisfaction. He aimed first at the job of assistant sales manager of his company and got the job. That one step upward placed him high enough above the crowd to enable him to see still greater opportunity. Also, it placed him where opportunity could see him. He made such a fine record selling hearing aids that A.M. Andrews, chairman of the board of the Dictograph Products Company, a business competitor of the company for which Halpin worked, wanted to know something about that man, Dan Halpin, who was taking big sales away from the long-established Dictograph Company. He sent for Halpin. When the interview was over, Halpin was the new sales manager in charge of the Acousticon division. Then, to test young Halpin's mettle, Mr. Andrews went away to Florida for 3 months, leaving him to sink or swim in his new job. He did not sink. Knute Rockne's spirit of all the world loves a winner and has no time for a loser inspired him to put so much into his job that he was recently elected vice president of the company and general manager of the Acousticon and Silent Radio division, a job which most men would be proud to earn through 10 years of loyal effort. Halpin turned the trick of little more than 6 months. It is difficult to say whether Mr. Andrews or Mr. Halpin is more deserving of eulogy for the reason that both showed evidence of having an abundance of that very rare quality known as imagination. Mr. Andrews deserves credit for seeing in young Halpin a go-getter of the highest order. Halpin deserves credit for refusing to compromise with life by accepting and keeping a job he did not want. And that is one of the major points I am trying to emphasize through this entire philosophy, that we rise to high positions or remain at the bottom because of conditions we can control if we desire to control them. I am also trying to emphasize another point, namely that both success and failure are largely the results of habit. I have not the slightest doubt that Dan Halpin's close association with the greatest football coach America ever knew planted in his mind the same brand of desire to excel, which made the Notre Dame football team world famous. Truly, there is something to the idea that heroship is helpful. Provided one worships a winner, Halpin tells me that Rockne was one of the world's greatest leaders of men in all history. My belief in the theory that business associations are vital factors, both in failure and in success, was recently demonstrated when my son Blair was negotiating with Dan Halpin for a position. Mr. Halpin offered him a beginning salary of about 1/2 what he could have gotten from a rival company. I brought parental pressure to bear and induced him to accept the place with Mr. Halpin because I believe that close association with one who refuses to compromise with circumstances he does not like is an asset that can never be measured in terms of money. Pass.
I'll pick up. In the bottom is a monumentous, dreary, unprofitable place for any person. That is why I have taken the time to describe how lowly beginnings may be circumvented by proper planning. Also, that is why so much space has been devoted to the description of the new profession created by a woman who was inspired to do a fine job of planning because she wanted her son to have a favorable break. With the change condition unshared in the world economy collapse, came also the need for newer and better ways of marketing personal services. It is hard to determine why someone had not previously discovered this stupendous need in view of the fact that more money changes hands in return for personal services than any other purpose. The sum paid out monthly to people who work for wages and salaries is so huge that it runs into hundreds of millions, and annually distribution amounts to billions. Perhaps some will find the idea here briefly described the nucleus of riches they desire. Ideas with much less merit have been the seedlings from which great fortunes have grown. Woolworth's 5 and 10 cent stores idea, for example, had far less merit, but it piled up fortunes for its creators. Those seeing opportunity lurking in this suggestion will find valuable aid in the chapter of organized planning. Incidentally, an effective merchandiser of personal services would find a growing demand for his service wherever there are men and women who seek better markets for their services. By applying the mastermind principle, a few people with suitable talent could form an alliance and have a paying business very quickly. One would need to be a fair writer with a flair for advertising and selling, one handy at typing and hand lettering, and one should be a first-class business getter who would let the world know about the services. If one person possesses all these abilities, he might carry on the business alone until it outgrew him. The woman who prepared the personal service letter plan for her son now receives requests from all parts of the country for her cooperation in preparing similar plans for others who desire to market their personal services for more money. She has a staff of expert typists, artists, writers who have the ability to to dramatize the case history so effectively that one's personal services can be marketed for much more money than the prevailing wages for similar services. She is so confident in her ability that she accepts the majority portion of her fee, a percentage of the increased pay she helped her clients earn. It must not be supposed that her plan merely consists of clever salesmanship by which she helps men and women to demand and receive more money for their same services they formerly sold for less pay. She looks after the interests of the purchaser as well as the seller for personal services, and so prepares her plans that the employer receives full value for the additional money he pays. The method by which she accomplishes this astonishing result is a professional secret which she discloses to no one except her clients. If you have the imagination and seek more profitable outlet for your personal services, this suggestion may be the stimulus for which you have been searching. The idea is capable of yielding an income far greater than that of an average doctor, lawyer, engineer who has educated requirement several years in college. The idea is salable to those seeking new positions in practically all positions calling for managerial or executive ability, and those desiring rearrangement of incomes in their present positions. There is fixed price for sound ideas. Back of all ideas is specialized knowledge. Unfortunately, for those who do not find riches in abundance, specialized knowledge is more abundant and more easily acquired than ideas. Because of this very truth, there is a universal demand and an ever-increasing opportunity for a person capable of helping men and women to sell their personal services advantageously. Capability means imagination, the one quality needed to combine specialized knowledge with ideas in the form of organized plans designed to yield riches. If you have imagination, this chapter may present you with an idea sufficient to serve as the beginning of the riches you desire. Remember, the idea is the main thing. Specialized knowledge may be found just around the corner, any corner. Awesome. Let me stop the share.
Powerful stuff. Can I share quickly 2 insights as all of reading and rereading this chapter?
Absolutely.
And then school never finished, just like Kevin mentioned in the book, right? We all read it. School never finished. We constantly improve, upgrading, right? Second point will be, if you're lacking any specialized knowledge, you can bridging the gap by making mastermind alliances with other people, access to that specialized knowledge, given that you guys working on the common goal, right? Same goal, right? And then number 3 is idea is more important than the knowledge. And the knowledge you can find on any corner, right? So the last sentence of this chapter, I found that's precisely how we should see is, the idea is like, the we get is through inspiration or hunch. Don't let it pass by, because if that right idea keep repeating, knock on your door, that means you got to do something about it. It's the universal intelligence give you, particular you only, to that idea, because everyone have a different seed of greatness, right? So we all have that, we have to be more perceptive, more receptive to that, hunch, intuition to carry out the idea. Because if you lack of knowledge, you lack of money, it's no problem, because you can align with people who have a similar vision, carry out the idea. So the key thing is the idea. So that's all I want to share.
Beautiful. Who else? Who else got a takeaway? I know Kevin's got one.
Man, just real quick for me, I mean,
Yeah.
again, it's the repetition, you know, I mean, I haven't read that chapter in quite a while. And honestly, I mean, I don't know how many times I've read it, but it was like, I don't remember that part. I don't remember that part. I don't remember that part, you know? So it is the repetition, you know, that's so very important. So very important.
Sure.
There was a lot of great stuff in that chapter that I hadn't thought
Absolutely.
of. So very, very grateful that I was tuning in tonight with you guys.
Yeah. That part I'll just share right now just because it keeps hitting me. And when I was reading this over and over, and then I played it in my car a few times. I've decided to move into this book for the year. Every year I do a certain thing for myself and I make it the year of. And this year, I don't know, for whatever reason, I was having a difficult time coming up with what that was until last week when I was sharing with you guys that how many people read this book and don't even do what's asked in chapter 2, you know, with you to spell out that, you know, the 6 questions that I asked you. And Natasha called me out. She said, you know, I'm going to hold you accountable, which that rung in my ear. I went that night, I didn't sleep until I wrote everything out. I wrote it all down. The next day I refined it. The next day I refined it. The next day I refined it. You have to do this stuff. So again, moving into this book and, you know, Bob Proctor listened to a bunch of stuff. Dave's been sending me stuff from Bob Proctor and just living in this book and really breaking it down. And this is my 7th, 8th, 9th time. I don't even know anymore. It doesn't matter. Like Bob, I'm moving in. I'm reading parts of this or listening to it every day because all the answers are here. We just need to figure out where to put these puzzle pieces and stay in it, not just for the moment. And the specialized knowledge chapter, it brought me right back to the first time I ever read it, because I prided myself on I'm the guy who has a guy, always. They come to me, hey, do you got a painter? Yes. Do you have a mechanic? Yes. Do you have an electrician? Yes. Do you have a banker? Yes. Do you have a real estate person? Yes. A rug cleaner? Yes. A person, whatever it is. I want to have that person because we're all going to need it at some point and someone's going to need that person. So why make it for everyone else to go out there and have to know all of this knowledge? I don't need to know it all. I don't need to know how to clean a carpet, change oil, you know, do whatever, but I got a guy or a girl. And that always rung true to me because you can only learn so much. There's only so much time in a day to really get specialized in one area. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to specialize in what I do. I'm a nutrition guy. I'm a health guy. I'm a person who goes against the grain guy, because the ones that go that way, I don't want to look like them, act like them, be like them, think like them. You know, Dom, you're different. Thank you. You know, you're not like the rest of the, you know, thank you. Like us, I've been working my whole life to not be like everybody else. And so this chapter really, really, really resonates with me. They all do, but this one, I feel like now after I've been hearing it so many times, I'm like, you know what? I feel like that's the one I really moved into other than some of the, you know, the other chapters, but, you know, so just start living, eating, breathing this, man, and it will come. And you just have to go back to the other chapters on belief and the, you know, the ones right before this, and they all add up.
You know, another thing too, Dom, that I was guilty of for years and years and years and years and years, and that is not paying. You know, you don't pay for something,
You don't pay attention.
You don't take it serious.
We live under a rule from one of the other
people, you know, and Bob talks about this a lot, you know, at his conferences. You know, people said, Bob, why do you charge so much money? He says, because I don't want anybody to fail.
Yep.
You know, you don't want anybody to fail. When I went to the Matrix, I don't mind sharing, I spent $15,000 to go to the Matrix in March of 2019. I had never spent a penny on myself. My college, I went 2 years of college on a baseball scholarship, and I got a guaranteed student loan and a Pell Grant to pay for the other stuff. I never invested in myself until I was almost 52 years old.
Yeah.
And for me to spend that kind of money, but you know what? I was excited. I could not get it paid off fast enough, because I expected, if I'm going to pay this kind of money, if I'm going to pay that to go to that for 6 days and hang out with Bob Proctor, my whole life is going to change. I expected that to happen.
Yep.
I didn't go in saying, I better get my money's worth or I'm going to be pissed off. But a lot of people, that's their attitude.
Sure.
If you're not willing to spend money on yourself, what's going to keep you in place when your paradigm, you know, rears its ugly head and pulls you right back to your normal habits of sitting on the couch, watching Netflix? I wanted more. I got tired of seeing that, you know, and it was so profound, so massive, the shift for us, that we went through Bob's training. You know, I didn't know anybody that was a certified consultant. We spent another 30 grand to go through Bob's training program to be certified, to teach this, to not teach it, but to facilitate it. You know, and Natalie just last month, guys, brought in $100,000 in 1 month. So all I'm saying is, you know, when you get on this journey, if you're afraid, if you've got money paradigms, you really need to get on this journey. Because when you can get past those money paradigms and you quit not buying the healthy food because it costs too much, you quit doing this or quit doing that because you can't afford it, you're not living your heart's content. You're not living your desires. And there is nothing worse than going through life having that longing and discontent that I missed the boat. I had my chance when I was 20. I mean, I lived in that record deal. I lost my recording contract in Nashville at the end of 1999. And for years I talked about, I had my chance, I had my shot. If I could only go back and do it over again, I would have done things different. And I looked at my life as that was my only shot. Guys, you don't get one shot in life. If you believe that, you get one shot in life, and you probably already had it. You get as many shots as you want. You get as many opportunities as you want, as long as you're open for it, because your mind will create and attract what it's in tune with. So if you're in tune with being broke, with money paradigms, with not feeling good enough, not loving yourself, feeling unworthy, we just, you know, our family we didn't have the right money growing up. My dad didn't have that. My mom didn't have that. If that's the thought, you're going to just continue to attract that very result. Get on a different frequency. If you don't understand what that means, do what it says in Proverbs. Seek understanding, seek wisdom like you would go seeking gold and precious jewels and diamonds. Get understanding, because when you understand what you're truly capable of, nothing is impossible. Nothing. Seek and you shall find. Knock, it will be opened unto you. Ask, you will receive. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. All right. There is a lot of powerful universal truth that everyone have inside of us. But if we don't get past whatever belief you were brought up with, if we don't stop and reevaluate why we are where we are, and if we don't stop and get the understanding that your thoughts are going to produce your results. If you don't like your results, it's not what you're thinking today, it's what you've been thinking your whole life, because the result don't change overnight. So if you want your result to look different 6 months from now, you better be thinking differently today than you ever did before. Einstein said it. You can't solve your problems with the same mindset you used when you created the problem. Most people don't take responsibility. They're blaming somebody else. Wasn't my fault. So-and-so did this, she did that, he did that. You're going to live that way for the rest of your life, and it's not worth it. Swallow that ego, swallow that pride, be humbled, be coachable, be teachable, get on an exciting journey of curiosity, and I want more, because you can have the very life that you want. I've seen hundreds of examples in the last 3 years of people that you would never in your wildest dreams imagine would have what they have right now. And hanging out with Bob in that community with the consultants from all around the world, and hearing and seeing firsthand over the last 3 years, the changes, the results, it's the truth.
Can I ask something? When you say the heart, it does not mean your heart. It means your subconscious mind, your belief system, your philosophy. What you constantly thinking about is your subconscious mind. Would you download it there, the hard drive there, right? So would you secretly harbor? You might openly say, oh, I like to become rich by using, oh, I will never make it. And then that's what you truly believe, and then you will never make it. But the subconscious mind is what we downloading there, right? So I love this book because repeatedly we have to revise our philosophy, because this book is helping us to getting into the right way of thinking, the right philosophy, to program our mind again, to have the result. Because there's another book called, The Science of Getting Rich. So be rich is a science. It's down to the T, just like 2 + 2 = 4. You can follow the law, right? Follow the right formula, you can get rich. So that's The Science of Getting Rich is an additional great book to read together with Think and Grow Rich, because that book is come out of Think and Grow Rich, but it cannot give you a more concrete way how to actually manifest the money you wanted, right?
A lot of people don't realize too that that book, The Science of Getting Rich, was what inspired Rhonda Burns in the movie The Secret. So, some people think it was Think and Grow Rich. It was not. It was The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles. So yeah, another fantastic book. But again, well, I'm just going to stop. Listen, guys, this has changed my life. I love it. It's getting on this journey and getting curious and understanding that it doesn't matter. Just like Dom said when we first started, it doesn't matter where you came from, your religious beliefs, your skin color, your sexual orientation. None of that matters. We all have a perfect spiritual DNA that we were created with. It's perfect. We were talking about the word educate, and that was something I didn't know. Educate doesn't mean to pull it in. It means to bring out what we already have in us. It means to draw out from within. We have everything that we need. We have it already. We just have to tap into that, and we have to understand how to use it. And that's why so many people go through life and they're depressed. They have this longing in their heart for more. And then they're made to feel guilty. You should be happy with what you have. You should be happy with where you're at. Do you know how many people would die to have that job? Man, nobody gets to tell you how you should live your life. What do you want?
What do you want?
It's so beautiful. It's so, it's scripture, number one. I love it. And as we were all reading, I saw my life, the movie of my life, and different sentences. And I saw my father's life also. I'll get through this conversation without crying. But for me, what resonated with me, my greatest takeaway was the desire, the strong desire. You have the strong desire, then you're off to the right start. I mean, I look back in my life, and when my son was born, who today he's 28, he'll be 29. I can't believe it, this month, Kevin Dominic. And I just had a strong desire to be his mom, to be home with him, to nurture him, to bond with him, to care for him, to see his first steps. And I'm not unique. There's a lot of women who long for that, and dads. So once he got old enough to go to kindergarten, I had I didn't work. It's the first time in my life since I was 15 that I had stopped working because of my desire to be with my son. I needed a car. My husband was looking after us. Should I have been working financially to help? Yes, but my desire to be a mother rose above that. So I became creative because of my desire. And I said, I'm going to do medical transcription from home so that I can control and dictate my time when I work and to be there for Kevin when he gets home from school. And my husband said, what are you, nuts? You need to be back in the workforce. I said, no. I said, I waited too long for this moment. And I became creative. My imagination kicked in. I knocked on doors. My husband got me with a used laptop, and everything just kind of fell into place. I didn't know how. I just knew I was going to do it come hell or high water. And I did it for close to 10 years. My father and mom, they have very little education. My mom was taken out of middle school. Their story is really something. To work on the farm in Michigan. And my father was raised from his country in Spain during the Depression. He was actually born in Ohio, went to Spain during the Great Depression. They were Spaniards, and they were during the Franco regime. But so he had very little education, and he came back to the States. He had to actually escape and walk to Portugal. Anyways, long story short, he had the desire for the American dream, and he didn't have this book in his hand. He just had the desire to raise a family and have a home with the white picket fence, which we ultimately got. Okay. He was that man who worked 2 jobs in a steel mill. He worked for Chrysler. There were constant strikes taking place. When an opportunity came to him, and this man took a liking to my father and sold him the laundromat business, he went into business. And it was because of that gentleman and the desire that my dad had that I feel he attracted that to him. He bought the house with the white picket fence. He took his family to Spain with his car in the cruise and took his car. We were 3 months in Europe with no education, what most people consider to be an education. So for me, it's the desire. Where I'm at right now is the desire to reinvent myself, to be the person, and I feel that I'm finally there. Today I put the Think and Grow Rich. I just had fun with it a little bit, and I put it to practice, Dominic. When I took my 2-mile walk, I said, I'm going to take the last half mile in with a jog. And I'm not a runner. But I had the imagination, I had the desire, I saw myself finishing. And as I was jogging, I said, you've got this and you're not stopping until you get to the start line where you started. And I did it. And I used the imagination and the desire, and everything kicked in. So
Beautiful.
everything's beautifully orchestrating. I got my spiritual life in check. It took a matter of, a few years. I worked on myself. I met the right people. Dominic, Mr. Nelson, you guys. I've had others pour into me as well. My relationships at home are far better because of the desire for better relationships, the desire to improve myself, my health, and now the desire for my finances. And so for me, it's desire.
Nice. I love it.
Hey guys, how we doing?
What's up, Tyrone?
Not much, brother. Hey, sorry, late again. Putting baby to bed, so she
No
goes.
worries. No worries.
Yeah, but I actually didn't. I bought the audiobook for Think Grow Rich because since I'm my stroke, I don't comprehend as much as reading versus listening and stuff. So I was glad I found that. But anyway, what brought to my attention was the word knowledge. I mean, knowledge. Especially with Henry Ford was then on trial for being an idiot.
Yeah.
He broke out and said, hey, look, hey, I don't need this because I got people who I can just push a button. I know I might not have the information, but I know where to get the information from. So, I mean, that resonated with me. And it pays to know how to purchase knowledge. So he knows how to purchase knowledge, like Kevin and Dominic and probably everybody on this call. I mean, you guys know how to purchase knowledge. The military, which I was in, rewards individuals with higher education. The higher that you go, the more education that you actually need, even in enlisted ranks. Okay, and you gotta study your books to make rank because you got to test for everything. So I mean, gotta have knowledge. And in this one paragraph, as knowledge is required, must be organized and put into use for a definite purpose. Knowledge has no value except that which can be gained from its application towards some worthy end. I remember in college back in 1983, years ago, don't don't age me. My sociology teacher said that over 70%, over 75 or 80% of people don't have jobs which they have degrees in. I mean, that resonated with me a lot, you know, because you need to get education in the field that you really want to go in. People just get an education just to get an education, and that really, and then even once they get it, they don't further get more knowledge in that field, whichever they're in. So that's why there are a lot of people who don't get jobs which they have careers in, I believe. Okay, I worked in a service department, cars, in a big car dealership. I knew nothing about cars. Still know nothing about cars, but I knew where to go to get the information. I actually had a book for dummies on cars, and when people had to, you know, you got to call people up and tell them what's going on with your cars. I knew how to talk to people, and I knew where to get the information from. So it made my life a lot easier, which I enjoyed a lot. But like I said, I went in with no knowledge of cars. And I came out with a little bit of knowledge, but not expert on cars. Okay. Currently, I'm a head coach of a 7th grade girls basketball team without an assistant, which I normally have an assistant, you know, for the last 3 or 4 years. So what I do, the knowledge that I need sometimes, I go to the girls. I go to the girls and ask them. For instance, there was another girl, one of our managers wants to come out for the team now. And she would probably be a good player, but what I did was I took the temperature of the team individually. I asked each one of them, how do you feel about this girl coming back? Because if she comes back, she may be taking some playing time from you. And I can't guarantee it to her, but how do you feel about that? 100% of the girls said they want her to come. They want her to come. So I use my girls for knowledge that I need on the basketball court and things going along with that, because I can't do it all by myself. And as long as you know where to get the knowledge from, I think that helps out a lot, tremendously.
Tremendous.
So that's all I want to say on the knowledge thing. So
I appreciate that, but you're spot on, brother. So keep in it. And specialized knowledge is, we don't have to waste our time being experts in everything. You got this in your hand that you can, back to the, you got an electric number, or a number, or whatever he said. Edison was like, I can push any of these and I can get any knowledge that I need. Why would I waste all my time trying to know how many feet are in a mile? Whatever. It just, so thank you, brother.
Yeah, thank you.
Derek, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Derek?
Yes, there's so much going on here. Everything that was said, I'm gelling with. Every time I was thinking about what I want to say, somebody said it. So something different that I took away, because there's so much in there, and I'm going to have to go through each and every one of these chapters because it's a living, breathing manuscript. I have to go through this infinite time. It's infinite intelligence, and it requires infinite commitment. Well, the word that kind of rung out to me is imagination, because I believe you have to breathe life into every one of these pillars, and whether it be specialized knowledge, general knowledge, is the knowledge coupled with our intended use. And that takes me back to the earlier chapters when we talk about faith, right? So I ask myself questions, why? Like the 2-year-old, when they say this, then I ask my question, well, why? Why faith? And so I have a friend on the call tonight, and I was talking to her earlier. I says, in my mind, the reason why faith was required versus what I can see with my eyes, right? What I think I can see with my eyes is a view, right? It's a view of the here and now reality. But with faith, I superimpose over what's in front of me. I superimpose what I desire, what I want. So that means irregardless to what is in front of me, irregardless to what I did right or what I did wrong, irregardless to, whatever circumstances I'm dealing with, my view is it has to be beyond what's in the present. It has to be, that's where the faith is required, because with faith, it's not based on what you can see. It's not based on any of your senses. It's based on that, what they use the term in the ether, that infinite intelligence. This is so much farther beyond where I'm at, right? We're tapping into the deep, like, when we step outside, we see examples of it, because if you look up in the sky, it's something out there, right? I mean, when you look up at the sky at night and you see all those twinkles, you got to say to yourself, there's something out there. There's something out there. Well, that same way it's something out there, it's something in here. It's something in here, in each and every one of us. And this collective community, the whole spirit, now I'm just kind of transitioning, because in my faith walk, I think about the body, right? We're all connected. We're all connected, right? That's why a mastermind group matters, because we're connected. We literally fire up all these cylinders of flow that just vibrate. I've heard vibrations, I've heard flow, I've heard infinite intelligence. All these things resonate to me of the grander scope of so much is available. It's just for us to ask of ourselves, not of something out there. It's just to turn on the switch, to turn on the light bulb, and then tap into it. And then it just, like when you open it up, it flows. When you open it, it flows. So I am so thankful. And, I know that it's a personal battle, but at least I'm in the company of like-minded individuals that encourage me. I'm not necessarily seeking encouragement. I'm thankful that I get this, and I just feel like it's the divine way. It's been, So I say I'm here because I'm supposed to be here. I'm happy for everyone that's here, because I believe each and every one of you was intended to be here this day, at this moment, in this time, and what we're doing is lighting a path, a trail. For we're that buoy or whatever out there that, somebody's wondering, is where's the hope at? There it is. They can see it right here. They say there's a twinkle there. We're that twinkle that we see. So I can go on and on and on. All I can tell you is this: I'm so excited for us in the here and now, in each moment that transcend from this point forward, because we're called into a mission.
I love it, Derek. Yes, sir. No, that's beautiful, beautiful. And like you said, that all just came out of you after everybody that already went, and you're like, everybody already said what I was gonna say. And it just, when you live in this, and when you're talking about the vibrations and frequencies and all of that, this is real. I mean, like you can try to figure it all out. There's nothing to figure out. This is already done. It's real. It's here. It's vibrations. It's frequency. It's God. We're all on the same page right now. We all know there's more. We all know that we need belief. We need to have faith. We need to have burning desire. We need to have all imagination. We need to have all of these things wrapped in one. And a group, a mastermind group, someone to, to bounce all of these things off of, because we're all here having the same, again, the same experience, but different and all the same. That's the beautiful thing. We all see, hear, smell, taste, feel something a little different, even though it's the same book, but different. And that's that specialized knowledge right there. That's, we all come from a different area in space. But we're all gonna pour into each other in a different way that we even had no idea. Reggie, how about my man Reggie tonight? You're on mute, brother.
I'm still learning my systems.
There you go. It's all good.
Okay, okay. But yes, I got a lot out of tonight's getting together. What I did is, I read the chapter going forward. I read the next chapter. So I was a little ahead of everybody. So I was listening intensely. I feel this is, I'm being pulled in a direction that I wanted to go, but I thought I wasn't ready, but I am ready now, I think. I'm gonna write my book. I've been asked to write the book. I have a story that's very similar to a lot of the stories I see in this book. I came from a background. Well, I came from background. I came from the South, and I grew up in the house that my family on the farm. The family used to live the farm when they were slaves, and so I came from that background. And they thought I wouldn't. I had a lot of things, and I won't spend a whole time because it's a whole lifetime of learning with these things. But I think I will now spend the time and write it.
Please do.
And tell the story.
You just said that. I have this on recording, Reggie.
Okay.
The book. No, for real. And that's what I'm saying. From last time when you came on and you spoke and you said that you don't have a high school education, that you
Right.
you started a company with 2,000 people. Your wife taught you to read. I listened. I don't miss.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I don't miss anything, Reggie. And
Wow.
especially when it's real and authentic and it's just someone speaking from a place of, you don't know any of us, you don't know this,
Right.
that, whatever. For whatever reason, you were introduced or you were invited on this call to be on the
Sure.
Think and Grow Rich. I don't know what this is. I don't know who these people are, but you're here.
Yeah.
There's 9 of us right now. There's a reason we were all here. There's a reason Kevin was here. There's a reason Zap was here. There's a reason why whoever was on this call and whoever's on here now, whoever is catching whatever it is, and when we're done, whatever comes into our mind after this call, there's a reason. There's never a thought, there's never, so please keep sharing. I'm sorry.
Okay, I will. I'll continue to. But all those things that we talked about tonight, I've gone through and experienced in terms of hiring people. I wasn't able to, I didn't know all the disciplines of operating a business and was told I couldn't do it. But they ended up making one of the largest business that we had here in the United States, especially African Americans or Black Americans. And but when I started out in the cotton fields, and so the way it was done was I did some of these same principles. I read this book many times before, and that's where I got my education, because then I had to, since I didn't graduate from high school, I had to start reading. Once my wife taught me, worked with me to learn to read, then I started reading. Then I started building my knowledge. My knowledge base is not the same as someone who went to college. Mine is built off of experience. I had to do it. And so what I did is the things I know how to do well, I did them, and then I hired people to do the other things. So one of the things I learned in this book and some of the other ones I've read, Reverend Schuler, Dr. Schuler, and some of the other ones, Richest Man, in Babylon. I read a lot of books after I learned to read, and to put these principles in order so that I could work it. But I learned right away that I don't know everything, but you find the person who knows what you need. I know what I want done. So I get the person that I need to do the part that I don't know how to do, including my accountants. So yeah, I went and read a couple of courses, a couple of books on accounting, but I'm not gonna be an accountant. But I need to know what the accountant's doing, because it's counting my money. So that's what I did. So I learned that way. And so it's very similar to a lot of people's in these books that I'm reading. I'm saying, and I've been asked many times to write the story, because not many people, well, many people have done it, but my story is unique. Everybody has their own unique story. And I think to come from where I was, be invited by the president to come and explain, how do you do what you did, what I did? Even I don't know how I did, other than I know that God had a big part of it, because I don't go alone. Okay. So, yeah, I think I'll save the rest for later.
Okay, appreciate it, man. No,
All right.
keep coming back, keep sharing, and write that
Okay.
book. Write
All
that
right.
book, brother.
I gotta
that
write the book.
Just start. We all have a book. We all have a book. We all have
That
a
is
story.
right.
We all have our own unique, crazy story, and
Yeah.
it's all crazy within our own, in our own way. So I encourage everyone on here to start writing. So someone put that on me years back. I've been a writer for a long time. I've never wrote. I mean, I'm not a writer, but I write. I like to write. I like to write, document. I like to share, because again, my story, I don't think is that unique, but then I do. And then I like start writing, I start thinking, I start going back to childhood, to we all have a crazy story somewhere within it. And the crazier your story, the crazier the journey, the more you're on the court, the more that you're doing, the more that you're sharing and connecting and whatever, then you start inspiring, and you start giving some hope to someone else, because most people are like, you know what, back to this book, like, no, not me, I can't, whatever, it's whatever. No. These are universal laws. This is, again, how I opened the call tonight. It does not matter your age, your color, your race, your religion, if you were born in California or Africa or wherever. It just, if you apply these principles, you get these groups together, and then you start bringing people together that have specialized knowledge that can do the jobs that you don't like to do. They can teach you stuff that you never even knew about. They can bring you to that next level, to get you to that next vibration, to get you to that next whatever.
Right.
There are people out there that can help you in every way. And, again, I could go on forever. I don't want this to go any longer. I got to get going, but I appreciate you all. Dave, we ain't heard nothing from Dave tonight. What's up, my man?
Hey, everybody. No, I'm just taking it all in. This is great stuff. Maybe I'll share more on the next call, because I got a bit of a story too, but one thing I wrote down is like, I left school, like after college, I was raised, I pretty much didn't have a choice, this is the way my dad raised me. It was like, you're going to go to college, then you're going to get a job coming out of college. And that's what I did. And it wasn't what I wanted to do. I have an accounting background. And so that was kind of my specialized knowledge that I did to go through life and make money for a bunch of years, but didn't enjoy it at all, and I wrote down, and I really, once I left school, I didn't further my education at all up until a few years ago. And, sometimes we have a life event, and it just like, I know that happened for an absolute reason, just completely changed my whole path. But I went literally 20 years of my life without really any type of education that I was interested in, left school and spent 20 years in mediocrity is kind of how I feel like, it's like, you could look at it as I wasted 20 years of my life, but I don't look at it like that at all. It's just like, it wasn't my right time to, start experiencing all this stuff and realize that there's a higher purpose and a higher being and something that we're all tapping into here. It's just, I'm so grateful for finally, like, and I haven't figured it all out, obviously we all haven't, but just getting to the point where, you know, so this is exciting to just learn more and just know that there's so much out there and it's all possible. I mean, I think that's one thing, you know, it's a big thing for me. It's just, I truly believe it in my heart, like anything you want, it's possible. So it's just figuring out what it is you want. And, you know, but yeah, that's kind of one of the things I wanted to share. So appreciate it.
Appreciate it, man.
Hey, Dom, can I add one more thing real quick?
Of course.
To Christina, you saying that you want to stay home with your child when you have opportunity to go to work. I'm gonna stay home dad now, and the hardest job of my life. 20 years in the military did not prepare me for this. so for a guy, I don't think it's a natural thing to want to be home with their kids as much as I do now. I mean, much as my daughter drives me crazy, I still want to be with her. My wife wants to go back to work. I'm not really interested in going back because, like you were saying, I'm trying to hold off as long as I can. I want to be here for my daughter when she goes from school. She's 4, going on 14. But I love her to death. But I just want to say that I think a man's isn't naturally fit. I mean, made up to be with their child as much as a woman. And not saying that that's bad or good. I just don't feel that. Some days I want to give it back to my wife for sure, but but the bottom line is that I want to be here for her. I've got 2 older boys. I got a 36-year-old and a 23-year-old, both boys, and I never had the opportunity to be with them as much as I have with my little girl. I got a girl, and I'm in heaven, and she got me wrapped around her fingers.
Oh yeah.
She does. But I just wanted to add that real quick, but I don't know if it made any sense or not. But
No, absolutely, man. And it's
Thank you.
yeah.
Appreciate that you said that.
It's a beautiful thing, and within that, it's do you, and figure out. Back to the beginning of this call again, something that Kevin said on a call that I was with him a few days ago, and he was doing a Saturday training, and it was about what do you want? What do you want? That just keeps ringing in my ears, not just from him, but that actual in. Oh yeah, beautiful man, beautiful girl. Look at her. But what do you want? Like, what do you want for her? What do you want for your kids? What do you want for the rest of your life? What do you want? You know, what do you want it to look like? What do you want? Where do you want to really, where do you really want to live? Not where do you live, or like, oh, what do you really want? What do you want to drive? Where do you want to, you know, where do you want to go? What do you want in your life? Like, what is it? And back to like, we start molding everything into what we think it should be or it could be or whatever. No, forget that. What do you want in every area of your life? So then I started breaking it down. All right, I want this with my wife. I want this with my family. I want this with my business. I want this with my gym. I want this with, you know, my knowledge. I want this with this. I want this. I want this for my mom. I want this. It kept going and expanding. And I started just, again, writing, like just write this stuff down, man. Because once you write it down, it takes a whole nother life force. And then go back to it and just keep, again, like I said in the beginning of the call again too, like I moved into Think and Grow Rich. Like, no, like there's, if a man can spend 8 years of his life in the book every single day, I can commit the year. At the end of the year, I'll evaluate. That's what I do. I commit, I put it down on paper, I put it in my mind, and I just go. And then I'm like, you know what? When I'm done with this, and this is what I teach my clients too that come into my gym, I'm like, don't worry about what the end result is what it's gonna take to get there. What do you want? What do you want to look like? How do you want to feel? Do you want to feel energized and feel amazing every day and like just, you know, have to force yourself to bed because you're never tired, or you want to be tired all day? You know, figure that out. Then we'll bring it back. Okay, here's our 30-day plan, but then bring it back. Here's our 1-day goal. Here's what we're going to do today. Win today. Stay in today mode. Okay, start the day with a plan and then stay in today mode, and that's my new phrase, today mode. Today mode. Don't worry about tomorrow. Don't worry about yesterday. Don't worry about 30 days or what's your big goal and what your end result of what you want to be is going to look like. Don't worry about how you're going to get there. Today mode. Win today. Do you win today? We won today. Shit. We're on this call. We've been on here for an hour and whatever, 40 minutes or however long. Hour and 49 minutes. We won. We won. We can't, there's nothing else that can happen today that can take, I shouldn't say that, but either way, we won today because I know leading up to now, we've all done other things. We've had the thoughts. We've been thinking about this call because you can't not think about it. And then during the call, after the call, during all of this, you cannot have not won the day. So guess what? Tomorrow, win the day. It's a one-day challenge every day because we are not guaranteed tomorrow. We're not. We are not.
Yes.
Ain't
Yes.
that the truth?
It's
Yes.
100% true, right? I mean, we all know someone that
Yes.
didn't make it last week, last month, last year.
Yes.
You don't have to go past last year because we've all lost someone within the last yesterday, last month, or last year. So tomorrow is, and they're all different ages, shapes, colors, forms, same thing. Same as this. Doesn't matter. It doesn't, there's no isms. You're gonna die and you're gonna live. As long as the big man has planned for us. But while we're here,
Yes.
win the day.
Yes.
So
Yes, I wanted to add that, Dominic, if I may. I really would like to say to everybody that I'm really focused on moment to moment joy, happiness, and gratitude, and enjoying life regardless, because it's a mindset, and like the book says, your thoughts. And my feet don't touch the floor until I give thanks, because there's so much to be grateful for. Like you said, we all know somebody, we've lost somebody. We're not promised a minute from now. And that's the truth.
Yeah.
Now, don't wait for financial success, is what I've been wanting to say, to be happy.
that's right.
It's a decision, and be grateful. And that's what I wanted to add.
Awesome. I hate to run. We could go all night, but I appreciate y'all. And we'll do this next Wednesday again. And I can't wait for the next chapter. And I'll put this in the in our Telegram, and anything y'all want to keep going, just throw an audio in there, a video, whatever, man. But anything you guys need, reach out to me, okay?
All right, brother.
Thank you,
All right,
Dom.
Bye, guys.
It's been a great session. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you,
you.
Dominic.
And everybody.
Bye, guys.